Hello there, you beautiful people. My name is Willow, and welcome back to Supreme Commander Forged Alliance Forever for a 1v1 ladder cast on the map Sickleback Ridge. Let's go ahead and get into introducing our players, with the red player in the northwest and the blue player in the southeast. And starting off, we're gonna go to the red UEF going first land, and his name is Space Cat. Then we can move on to the blue UEF. So we have a UEF versus UEF mirror matchup today. And his name, of course, is going to be Bjorn. So, there we go. We have our players introduced. Let's take a look at this map. Of course, it is oh so beautiful. Around 7,000 mass to reclaim, only a 5x5 kilometer, so a very, very small map. In fact, I believe that if you place a T2 artillery in the middle of the map, it reaches both corner bases. So very interesting to see that. As we wait for these players to get some kind of aggression going on, we can continue to discuss it. There's a lot of little choke points and a lot of difficult areas to traverse for large armies, so you can expect to see a lot of kind of walls or PD thrown up in small little bases, but not huge armies clashing. We also have a decent amount of mass extractors for a 5-kilometer map. I actually feel like this is a pretty eco-heavy map for 5 kilometers. Gonna have to see how these players approach it, and of course, early on right now, we have Bjorn showing up with that early aggression that we all know and love out from the UEF. He's going with the solo mech marine harassment option here, and he is heading his way over towards the base of Space Cat. And while he does so, let's go ahead and direct your attention to the buttons down below. Like and subscribe are always beautiful buttons to press. There's also join and a link to the Patreon if you want to support the channel more. And of course, the perk with the channel membership is you can get access to every video 12 to 24 hours earlier. But enough of that, as the Mech Marine grabs first blood in this match, killing off an engineer. We have Mech Marine on Mech Marine action down here, this time going in favor of Space Cat by quite a little bit. This Mech Marine nearly on half HP after picking up a kill against one of his brethren. And that's going to mean that overall, Space Cat's taking a bit of a worse deal, I would feel. He didn't necessarily deal any damage to Bjorn. Bjorn expected to lose that Mech Marine. He didn't expect to lose that expanding engineer, which means that he's just going to be a little bit behind on expansion, and we will be able to see that very soon, as Bjorn has multiple expanding engineers, none of which are under threat currently. Another expanding engineer for Space Cat seemingly going to go down, but no! It gets to walk away on 24 HP, thanking its lucky stars. What a fortuitous moment for Space Cat, as his engineer escapes death by mere feet or inches. Of course, this Mech Marine's still going to run around, try and get some form of damage down. Space Cat decides to just bring the comm out and say, alright, no more Mech Marine for you, you die. And that is that. So, overall, as I was talking about with the engineer situation, one big thing we can see is the reclaim numbers. Bjorn double the reclaim. He didn't lose an engineer, and in return, he has more reclaim. Overall mass generation, Bjorn also ahead there. He has himself set up with a T2, or not a T2 mech, but he just has more mass extractors on the map right now, as Space Cat is only just now getting back to expanding to these two mass extractors over here. He will catch up. It's by no means critical damage, but just seeing the value of these early game harassment options is huge. We have a striker coming out. It seems as though Bjorn's going to be losing his first engineer this match, and that is going to be a painful little loss there, as now this striker has nothing really here other than, I guess, this massive commander walking towards it to oppose it, killing off all these mass extractors. Now, it's not going to be able to, with Bjorn strolling into range and blapping away at that striker. Doesn't even manage to kill off one of the mass extractors. Here in the center, a mass extractor now under threat for Bjorn, he's losing this. Of course, Space Cat very happy to be threatening that mass extractor. Over here to the west, we have Space Cat currently shooting down a striker. And the Mech Marine over here about to kill off this mass extractor. Going to be a big pickup over here for Space Cat. And of course, we have T1 Air now on the field and in play. A T1 bomber coming around, going to be able to pick off a T1 tank up to 28 mass killed. Let's see how much mass killed this bomber can get. Of course, always interesting to see, especially since currently there is no airplay coming out from Space Cat. He's currently building a T1 air factory, but he doesn't have any anti-air as far as I can tell. He may be building one, but he's just going to start losing a lot of these. Oh, he had an anti-air, so the bomber goes down. Never mind, I was wrong. And of course, that bomber got a little bit of efficiency. Killed off a radar and an engineer with that last bomb. Very nice play out from Bjorn. And of course, we just continue to meander our way towards the 6-minute mark. It's been a very kind of timid opener for a 5x5 kilometer map. I feel you usually see the commanders just going for a gun upgrade and trying to run one of the other ones over, but both sides deciding to kind of take the expansionist route, try and set up. Bjorn has opted for a very early T2 mass extractor, and he has gotten it fully adjacent with some factories, so that's going to be a pretty little efficient setup right there for building units. Not efficient in overall mass generation. Of course, it's always going to be a little bit more efficient to have the mass storages instead of factories, but if you want your factories to be a little bit cheaper, it is an option. Over here in the center, the Scorcher out for Bjorn, going to be harassing this force, which is heavily outnumbered of Space Cats, and that's going to be cleaned up without really much of an issue. We have a weird situation where we have red, blue, red. We have 2 mass extractors for Space Cat, 1 for Bjorn, and then another one for Space Cat over here. Kind of like an island of mass generation over there, if you would. And over to the west, we have ourselves some T1 mass extractors built up for Bjorn, and Space Cat putting a lot of his production outside of his main base. He just has more factories currently than Bjorn. He's able to afford it pretty alright right now. He's sitting on 6 factories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, that is correct. Whereas Bjorn, I think, is only sitting on 4, maybe 5. He has 5 factories, one of which are idle. So he is a little bit behind in the factory count, but that's not the biggest thing in any game by any means. 1 factory difference does not necessarily mean you're just going to be behind on units. As a Scorcher comes out yet again. Is this the same Scorcher? 7 kills on this Scorcher. Really getting some efficiency out of this early T1 airplay. Unfortunately, that bomber is going to go down unless maybe it can run away and the interceptors here can save it, but I don't believe that's going to be the case as the bomber goes down into the base. And of course, we have more and more constant little fights across the map, both sides trying to raid each other, trying to get these small groups, these tactical groups of units in, and we're seeing neither side get a real clear advantage right now. The map is split somewhat 50-50. Maybe Bjorn has a little bit more of an advantage as far as map control goes. T2 land now finish up for Space Cat, so he's going to be able to produce T2 engineers and the ever so important pillar. Pillars are, of course, as their name implies, pillars of the UEF Tech 2 phase. And Bjorn gonna be the first one to get a little bit more aggressive with the comm. He's walking forward. He's gonna be killing off some units over here. Has an overcharge. That's gonna be very valuable. And he's getting value out of the comm. He's also continuously building T1 bombers. He's just constantly having 1 or 2 kicking around just to get some harassment damage and really just try and strain Space Cat's ability to manage his Air Force. He also has a decent amount of Air Force himself. He's doing very well with the focus on that. Damage and range now on the way for Space Cat. And he has a bunch of units down here now raiding, getting a little bit of a run-by, but I don't think you can even call it a run-by when there's just nothing here to defend. He's just walking through the open door. You didn't leave your doors locked, Bjorn, and now you're under threat of having a relatively big army for 8-9 minutes into a game just waltz into your base while you have nothing there but production. Of course, it's not going to be the end of the world, but this is going to hurt, and there's multiple T2 mexes at risk right now, right here for Bjorn, and he needs to respond to this with something. Maybe spam up a T1 PD or anything really, because it's going to take a little while for his production alone to solve this issue. We already have a T2 mass extractor going down, and that is going to be brutal here for Bjorn. He loses his energy storage. He's continuing to take damage here. A few power generators may go down. I think that now that a pillar has popped out, this will slowly be cleaned up. But T2 mass extractor, some energy storage, that's not insignificant damage, and that's a very good trade coming out from Space Cat. He does dump a little bit of mass here, and he is getting some damage down onto these power generators. There's no T2 power in play yet, so those are still relatively significant, but he has more than enough power to cover losing a few of his mass extractors. And overall, it's no decisive blow, as Bjorn's still sitting on a much bigger economy, especially with 2 T2 mexes built up over here to the north. He does need to focus on rebuilding and maybe getting a little bit more focus down here on this south flank, this just kind of southern side of the map. And over here to the west, the increased production out from Space Cat gonna be a huge boon to his efforts, as currently he's building a triad in his base. This is a little bit defensive, but I see where you're coming from. There was a comm over here. What if that comm gets gun damage and range? Much like Space Cat is doing and is about to finish up on his commander, assuming this isn't paused. I don't think it's paused. I just think he's probably in a mass stall. He's very low on mass for how much production he has. Does finish up damage and range. T1 Bomber out yet again. Going to be able to pick up a couple of kills before going down to the inevitable interception. Ooh, fancy. Interception. Did I say interception? What's wrong with me? As we have a few pillars now on this flank. Unfortunately for these pillars, though, this gun comm gonna be hyper efficient at just being able to deal with them. I mean, it's not necessarily gonna do well if it continues to shoot this cliff. And Bjorn decides to help out Space Cat there by making sure these units can be shot at by the commander. And the commander's going to kill off a pillar or two here, or maybe he'll just walk past them. Seems as though both sides are kind of ships passing in the night while firing cannons at each other. They still don't know about the other one, but, you know, it's like a 4th of July party that gets out of hand, and you just start shooting cannons blindly in the night, but you end up hitting somebody. You feel real guilty about it later, but at the moment, you were drunk and having fun. Did I tell you all about the time I got in a Robin candle fight? Got a couple burns. It was really fun. I enjoyed. That's one of my favorite 4th of July stories. Fireworks. Don't fuck with them. They hurt. But at the same time, pretty fun. As here in the center, there are a few strikers out over here for Bjorn. Going to be able to focus down a mass extractor, some engineers, just get some light damage done. Needs to be careful not to lose this entire force, though, as it will be kind of a mass donation. Speaking of mass donations, 5.5 thousand mass reclaim for Bjorn. Space Cat sitting on 2.1 thousand. Space Cat, yet again, doing better on the unit production. Just looking at the map, just looking at it from this point of view, it looks like Space Cat is doing pretty well. He has a lot more units than Bjorn. Bjorn admittedly probably has a few more T2 units, but they both have T2 units, and there's just more units in general for Space Cat. So he's looking pretty strong, as over here to the west, there are a Mongoose Pillar squad coming over to try and deal some damage to this production. Not sure how much that will achieve. Space Cat, though, he's being efficient. He does have a decent amount of units on the field, and he's taken good trades, as shown by the kill-to-loss ratio there for mass-wise. And it's looking all right, but he's desperately behind on mass. He is nearly 3 times less mass production than Bjorn. And that is going to very quickly amount to a lead that he cannot deal with by simply taking a few efficient trades. He needs to start ecoing up and getting himself into a better position to fight out the long game, because it's obviously not going to end right here or right now. He is going to be able to push up here with that gun comm with this army, and he may be able to get some real damage down onto Bjorn by attacking kind of this expansion point. There's 3 Tech 2 mexes there. He does bring his army down. He does thwart off the raiding squad out over there for Bjorn. And overall, we are at the 14-minute mark, and not really any closer to finding a victor in this game, which is quite surprising. 5-kilometer maps known for playing very short games. And right now, both sides looking strong. Both sides have their strengths and weaknesses right now. Gonna have to see how this progresses in the next few minutes, because Bjorn, in particular, with this increased economy, with the massive amount of T2 production, up to 2 T2 factories now, is looking very scary if he is left unmolested for a few minutes. He could very well deal a massive amount of damage in a very short period of time with the army he's going to have by that time. And now, T2 Mexes, a Hydro, going to be going down along with some T2 Mexes. This is going to give some very nice veterancy over onto the comm of Space Cat, which is not insignificant. He's also immediately reclaiming. Oh, that's a nice play. Kill off the T2 Mex, immediately reclaim it, make sure Bjorn does not get a rebate, does not get to build at a increased rate on that position. And I really like that play coming out from Space Cat. As over here to the center, damage and range about to finish up for Bjorn. He's going to try and push back Space Cat with his own commander. Unfortunately for him, though, he's just going to continue to lose a lot of ground over here, but he's at T3 land already, and we have some Titans now pumping out from these factories. Bjorn has skipped the T2 phase. He's gotten a lot of T2 production, decides to kill off one of these factories in favor of having 4 adjacent mass extractors. And these Titans are going to prove invaluable. Bjorn is going to be very scary. The more of these he produces, and he's producing them very quickly, the more likely he's going to be able to roll over these existing armies for Space Cat. And this is what I was talking about with Space Cat just being so far behind economically. Now, Space Cat is kind of remedying that. Right now, he's reclaiming those T2 Mexes, and he's using the reclaim to build his own T2 Mexes at home, and that is going to really help him out here. But now he is at a massive tech disadvantage. He doesn't have T3 tech. He really can't afford it at the moment. So these Titans are going to be able to run roughshod over Space Cat's territory in the coming minutes. Over here to the east, Space Cat currently falling back, saying, yeah, Titan, I don't want none of that, fam. You also have a gun comm. You know what? I get it. You don't want me here. I'm going to leave. But never mind. You know what? I'm going to come back in. You know what? You were very rude to me. I want to speak to your manager, Bjorn. And, of course, just going to toy around with the idea of fighting that comm there. Probably not going to result in anything, as we have yet another huge run by, and there's enough pillars and strikers here to just focus down Titans. If it's 1 or 2 Titans, this is not an issue for Space Cat with this army. He's eventually 1 or 2 Titans over the long haul will slowly kill this off, but when they trickle in one by one, it's much easier for strikers and pillars to deal with it, and these strikers and pillars are immediately coming in, immediately focusing the power grid. If he can manage to get both of these T2 power generators, that's going to be huge. If he gets both of them, that means that he can very, very easily catch up to Bjorn. Bjorn can't produce these Titans if he doesn't have the power generation. I think he had a little bit of redundancy there. He is very close to power stalling, but he's not quite going to as the Titans save the day. He's going to have to start turning off shields on Titans if he wants to maintain his power generation, and overcharges are definitely not helping his case over here to the east. Over here in the east, a large army for Space Cat has shown up. Space Cat is continuing to reclaim with the commander. He's trying to use this army to bully Bjorn off this position. He also has his own damage and range comm. In fact, he may be in a situation where he could just walk down Bjorn's comm. He's in a very strong situation right now. Bjorn down to 4,800 HP, 47, 45, down to 4,400 HP, and Space Cat is at full HP, and he has 3 ranks of veterancy. That's nearly 16,000 HP. Very surprised he doesn't opt for that, but I guess there are a lot of Titans in the area, and Titans are going to be very difficult to be able to deal with that, with just a gun comm. So he does fall back. Is he going for T3 land himself? He is, but he's still just going to be massively behind. I really like the play down here. Unfortunately, though, that's going to leave a lot of reclaim in the base. Bjorn's going to be able to rebuild that T2P generator. P generator? You say power generator or P-gen, not P generator. That sounds weird. It sounds like you're generating P, which we all do it. Let's not lie. Everybody pees. But it sounds weird, okay? Did I ever mention that you all are beautiful? Oh, so beautiful. Get nice kind of tactical view from Bjorn's standpoint, and right now he's looking strong. He's not really had, I guess, the best map control, and he has lost a little bit of economy, which is going to set him back. It's not cheap to build Titans, but as of the moment, I think he has the No, he doesn't. He's behind Space Cat. He can't afford Titans. You can't afford... I mean, I guess he can. 18 mass a second, he's getting some reclaim, he has a lot of assistance. He's not stalling by an egregious amount, but he really should focus on maybe getting this mass extractor that's ringed with mass storage to T2 before he worries about producing more Titans. He has more than enough Titans to protect himself for the moment, but maybe he sees the possibility of just winning the game outright from this position, so he's just trying to kind of, what's the word? He's just trying to bide his time and, or no, not trying to bide his time. He's trying to go for the kill shot right now. Got lost in my train of thought there. There's a lot of carriages on my train of thought. Like, you can go from one to the other. There's a full liquor bar. It's just a fucking train wreck, literally and figuratively, if that matters. As over here to the west, Titan's gonna come over here, and all of this T1 production's gonna go down, which, in the grand scheme of things, not all that significant. More significant to actually lose these T1 mexes, in my opinion. Especially one that was gonna go T2 at some point. And that is gonna mean that Bjorn is striking back. He's been definitely on the receiving end for a little while. Him deciding to opt out of T2 phase almost entirely means that he gave up a lot of map control, but this increased focus on Titans is gonna be huge. He's sitting on 8,640 mass and Titans, 18 Titans in total, versus the entire land army of Space Cat being 2852 mass, and that is pitiful since it's almost all T1. Actually, it may all be T1. I don't see a single T2 unit here. Oh, there's one pillar. That is looking a bit dire and a bit sus there out from Space Cat. He needs T3 land production, and honestly, he has to skip Titans. He has to go into Percivals. It's the only way he gets good trades into these Titans right now is going to be Percivals. So he needs to really use this comm efficiently. Also has to be careful with it. He's really making a fine balancing act here, as Bjorn has positioned himself beautifully to strike a killing blow onto Space Cat. Space Cat still behind economically, or he is back to being behind economically, and he's just struggling with the overwhelming Titan production coming out from Bjorn. Bjorn has a few Titans up here. They're just going to sit still, but this is what Titans were designed to do. They kill T1 real good. He's trading one Titan, which is, what, 480 mass? He's trading that for 2,000 mass worth of units. That's what that trade was. I'm not wrong on that. Yeah, 480 mass, and there was probably about 2,000 mass in units, because that was his entire army, and we just checked that. That's a good trade. Take that trade deal. It's very nice. As this Titan continues to be a thorn in the side of Space Cat. He just does not have the tools to deal with all these Titans. Surprisingly, though, Bjorn decides to pull all of his Titans back towards his base, playing a bit timid for somebody who used 4 Titans to kill off all of the army of his opposition. Maybe he just doesn't have the intel. He does have a scout flying out now, but it gets shot down by these interceptors, which actually was a huge boon. If he gets a scout that just goes across the map and sees everything, he probably realizes that he just wins this game. But these interceptors in the middle are just constantly dealing with his scouts. Bjorn is looking poised to win the game. And Space Cat, he's built up a few defenses. He's starting to build up his own Titan force. I don't know if going toe-to-toe, if trying to outproduce Bjorn on Titans is going to work for you. I feel you have to go with Percivals in this situation. Going Titan for Titan is not going to go well for you when you're behind on mass generation, and you've been producing Titans for a fraction of the time that Bjorn has. Shield now on the way. He's going to try and level the playing field by investing in his commander, which is a very, very cool move to make. I mean, it also can work out very heavily in your favor. For example, one of the most mass efficient ways, in my opinion, to fight off very large armies when you are behind as Aeon is Chrono. because it basically negates the unit for seconds at a time. Your army gets to get its full DPS, their army doesn't. It's very risky whenever you're talking about the T2 and T3 phase, because these units have a lot of DPS. Even with them being stunned, they can DPS you down. But if you have a strong enough army, if you have even half of the army of your opponent, you can win that fight. It's just a riskier play. And that's what Space Cat is opting for here as the UEF, going for that gun upgrade, now going for shield. He could even tack on Nano or T2 and T3 and make himself a lot stronger. So we're going to go ahead and speed this up, as neither side seems interested in punching each other in the face, and I know that's what you're here for. You're here for the big ol' smacks in the face that these players tend to deliver on to each other pretty often in FAF. And currently, Space Cat is just trying to build up. He doesn't feel strong enough to assail Bjorn. Bjorn is ecoing up and deciding that he doesn't want to win the game right now. I feel there was a big portion of time there where he just runs in with Titans and wins it. But he's deciding to play it safe, trying to play it a little bit longer, and he wants to just make sure his lead is overwhelming before he makes a final move on to Space Cat. Space Cat continues. Let's go ahead and check the reclaim numbers. 20,000 for Bjorn, 11,000 for Space Cat, and of course we can check on a few other things. So we have the tech levels. We have Tech 2 Air for Bjorn and Tech 3 Land for Bjorn. Over here we have Tech 3 Land for Space Cat. He only has Tech 1 Air, which could come up. We could see something like a large Janus play. It's very efficient for use against large armies, and both sides are now building up decently large armies. In fact, right now Bjorn is kind of at threat over here on the western side. Really like to see him expanding over here, but the units over here in the base for Space Cat could definitely take on this forest. I think Bjorn probably agrees with that now that the shield comm comes out, decides to run away with his Titans from that flank. And Space Cat continues to try and catch up in overall Titan number. Bjorn has a T3 power generator now finished up. He has T3 mass extractors, many of them in fact. He's over 110 mass a second. I guess if he really wanted to, he could pause Titan production, throw everything into a Fat Boy maybe. But he's going to go for another T3 PGen and for T3 Air. Maybe that's the play he's looking for. I'm honestly just a little bit confused why he hasn't tried to push his T3 land advantage a bit more. As up here to the northeast, Pillar decides to kill off a T1 engineer that wandered too close to the sun. And we continue this kind of standoff situation, both sides posturing. A couple of Titans sent out to just kill off a couple of T1 mass extractors, trying to risk as little as possible while getting a little bit of damage done onto his opposition. Space Cat up to 65 mass a second, and he is producing with multiple factories Titans, which is something that could maybe come into his advantage. He has more Titan production now than Bjorn, especially with the fact that Bjorn is no longer assisting his factories, and I believe there is still some assistance. There's a lot of assistance going on for Space Cat, although he really can't afford it. He will have a lot of Titans on the field very soon, and Bjorn has really taken a backseat approach to continuing Titan production. He seemingly wants to make an air play. Titan goes down to a bunch of T1. And a large Titan push now over here on the western side out from Bjorn. And it's really undefended. I guess there is this shield comm which can come over and try and deal with it. But Titans are significantly faster than a shield comm. Large battle now taking place between the Titans on both sides. I think that Bjorn is winning this. Bjorn has the Percival mixed in there. So despite the very aggressive positioning out from Space Cat, he's probably losing this fight overall. And that does indeed seem to be the case, as he has to fall back. And that's going to be a huge mass dump. When you start getting into these T2, T3 phases, these mass dumps get exceptionally larger. Earlier we were talking about like a 2,000 or 3,000 mass dump, and that was a much bigger feeling army. And also, for some reason, I can't. Can this go up? No, it can't? Okay. Okay, UI just don't work. It just, okay, whatever. But yeah, now we have a 6,700 mass dump right here, and that wasn't even necessarily a huge army. We had like a 3,000 in this base. It's gonna be very interesting to see how Space Cat approaches this after taking yet another land loss to the Titan and the overall T3 production out from Bjorn. And Bjorn has just skyrocketed. He's over 100 mass ahead of Space Cat in generation. Space Cat just seems a little bit lost. He's not really transitioned particularly well into this late game eco phase. He's starting to get some more T3 mass extractors, and he's assisting it heavily, trying to get up to the point where he can outproduce Bjorn, like he did earlier in this game whenever Bjorn was ecoing. And we're gonna just go back up to speeding up a little bit as both sides, it seems as though Bjorn is timid about attacking and Space Cat just doesn't have the tools to attack with. So he's kind of avoiding it. Does send in a Titan and a Striker. It's going to be surprisingly effective. Going to be able to kill off a couple of T3 engineers before getting shut down by a Titan, or by a Percival. And we're going to just, yet again, speed this up a little bit more. As I said, neither side really able to take a convincing fight at the moment. I mean, I think Bjorn can take a convincing fight, he just doesn't feel like it. And he's currently building up a Fat Boy. That may be the play he was going for. Don't know why he rushed for T3 Air and then went for ASF instead of Strat Bombers? Strat Bombers seem like a good play. Space Cat is currently going to try and use the comm in combination with a large Titan push. He's even using factories to transport Titans to the front lines. And we're going to slow down as these Titans approach the main base. Is Bjorn going to respond? He has a large force of T3 units up here on the minimap. Is he going to respond to this whatsoever? T3 mexes are going to go down. These Percivals, though, are just really wreaking havoc on this Titan force. A lot of Titans going down. Maybe if Space Cat can get in here and just do some reclaiming on these T3 mexes and these T3 Rex in general, can get something happening. Bjorn is reacting. We can see it on the minimap. He is sending some units down towards the commander, but the lion's share of the units, I would say, are moving up north and maybe towards the main base of Space Cat. And Space Cat trying to get something out of this attack, trying to get a lot of reclaim going on. Just not going to be able to quite get what he was maybe hoping for. And currently, Space Cat has managed to pick up a decent amount of reclaim, but unfortunately the majority of this area is just going to go right back into Bjorn's coffers. Of course, it's still worth it. Really slowed down Bjorn's mass production at a critical time where he's trying to build a very expensive project that is the Fat Boy. But he still has mass in his coffers, and as long as he gets more engineers out here to reclaim, he'll be okay to finish off that Fat Boy. We have a bit of fighting going on over here. We have mass Percival production now coming online for Space Cat, and he's admittedly closed the gap in mass generation by quite a bit. This Fat Boy is going to make or break this game for Bjorn, I feel. If he can't win with a Fat Boy, I don't see how he's going to win at all with so many advantages thrust at his feet by Space Cat's kind of refusal to eco into the late game. And now Percival's showing up, firing their shots into Titans, and now we have the opposite kind of battle going on where the Percival's out from Space Cat, really doing a number on the Titans. Unfortunately, though, Bjorn also just has Percivals now, and he has a lot of them. So Bjorn's going to be able to push in, maybe kill off these T2 mass extractors. And that's going to be quite painful for Space Cat. He does have a lot of Percival production. Maybe he can mount some kind of defense to stop this, especially with Bjorn being timid to attack. A Fat Boy is finishing up momentarily. And that is going to mark what I believe to be the beginning of the end for Space Cat. He's lost even more mass generation now. All of these scouts in the air. Yet again, no Strat Bomber. Interestingly enough. And with T3 Air online, I would think that this experimental is basically unassailable. Space Cat has to start building a bunch of T2 artillery if he wants to live now. And unfortunately for Space Cat, I don't think he has scouted the Fat Boy, since he still doesn't know that's a T3 mech, and I'm sure that's been T3 for a long time. So Space Cat in for a rude awakening once this Fat Boy strolls into the range of anything anytime soon. And we're gonna speed it up because it's really feeling like Space Cat, I don't see how he answers this Fat Boy and this overwhelming economic advantage. Nearing 200 mass a second ahead for Bjorn. He had a bit of a shaky early game, but he transitioned into the late game a lot smoother than Space Cat has. And Space Cat has been very interesting. He's been fighting and he's been constantly trying to push in and get some aggressive plays off. Just none of them really working out because Bjorn has played this slow and steady, eco up, play defensive, play a little bit greedy style. And Space Cat's aggression just doesn't seem to have been enough. As the Fat Boy is encroaching on the front lines, there are now Percivals walking into the main base of Space Cat, and a T3 power generator under threat. It's being focused down by the Percivals, and oh no, it's a disaster. He can't afford that. He can't afford to lose his T3 power generator there. And now his ACU won't even have its shield online, I don't believe, unless he turns off some kind of production, maybe turning off this air factory and all of the T3 factories. But Space Cat, I think that I was right when I said that the Fat Boy was the beginning of the end. And Space Cat's gonna kill off another Percival. He's up to nearly 5 ranks of vet. But I don't see how he deals with this Fat Boy. He just loaded into a transport. Whoa, 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 slow down. Slow down for a second. I think we have a really epic shot right here. Alright, let's speed it up. We got the thumbnail, boys. It's coming in. Oh, is he dropping right there? Or is he moving? Is he moving the drop? Oh, here we go. Oh, just look at that. Look at that clean, crisp image. Now look at me fuck it up with trying to do some camera stuff. Oh, just look at that. It's such a badass play. He's going for it. He drops the commander just before the transport is presumably gonna die. Yeah, the transport dies, and he walks inside the shield, and he's getting shot at by Percivals. Does he get the Fat Boy kill before he dies? The Percivals are firing at him, and he goes down. Thank you all for watching. You all have been oh so beautiful. Thank you to the channel membership, the channel members and the Patreons for supporting the channel. If you liked the content, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps out the channel a ton. You all are, as I said, beautiful. This is Willow, signing off.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.